All right. Well, it is Tuesday. It's 1 p.m. What time is it for?
It's Minot Talk.
It's Minot Talk.
It's live. We're in color. We got a special guest today.
Special guest, Tom Schrader.
Well, good. Oh, it's afternoon. That's right. 1 o'clock. Yeah, good afternoon. And lots of color, a lot of red skin in this camera right now. Yeah. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. Kyler, how about you?
I'm great. I'm ready for today. We are extremely thankful for you to take your time out of your day and be on with us. We're hoping to get some great information out to some people in town today about some projects you have going on.
Oh, yeah. Hope so.
And we're going to talk about after that. We'll have some info on the Blue Rider bingo game and give some updates on the Anita Knutson case as well. But
and before we forget, we'll try to mention again, but tonight, 5:30 at the Parker, there's a neighborhood meeting that's open to all of Minot to come talk with city officials about, I believe snow removal might be one of the topics that are tonight, but good opportunity to stop by and be engaged. And if you have some opinions on how things should be handled, let them know.
Yeah, I think we'll both be there too tonight, right? Are you going to?
I'm going to do my best.
I will for sure. So if you guys do end up coming out tonight, make sure you come say hello, not just to us, but of course to the city people. That is what it's really there for. Ask your questions.
Oh, Kyler. But right now we're joined by Tom Schrader. So first off, really do want to say thank you for coming on today, Tom.
Happy to.
Absolutely. And there's this huge project you guys have been working on. We've seen some billboards around town about some numbers, 106.9 or something.
Yeah, new radio station. Yeah.
A new radio station.
If all works out, because we are having a problem with one piece of equipment right now, and in theory it's supposed to be fixed tomorrow completely. And if I understood Joe correctly, but launching April 1st, and I believe we're going to try 8 o'clock in the morning on April 1st.
So you'll be ready for everyone's morning drive that day then.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
Really excited. Joe Goldaddy, Minot native.
Yep.
Bought the radio station KHRT FM, and we're changing the format. Okay. And we've been putting together music, and we've done a little bit of research, and Joe's doing a lot. Well, not to say a lot, all the technical stuff. Dealing with the FCC and all the applications and wiring and all that kind of stuff. Joe's doing that. I've been working on the music library.
Okay.
And so between the two of us and then help from others, obviously this is not a two people got this on the air. We're hoping to have a fully functioning radio station April 1st, but we're calling that day one, because we really do have a lot of things we want to do that won't start on day one.
Sure.
But the main radio station, the main feel that you're going to get will be day one.
That makes
fantastic.
sense. So one thing, just to clear the air, April 1st is April Fool's Day. There's no joke in this, right?
No. Yeah, and you're not the first person, because I've been posting on my heytomazon.com weather page, and I keep saying, is this an April Fool's joke? No, it's not. It just kind of worked out that way.
This is as serious as it gets. So you mentioned Joe Goldaddy, who, of course, if anyone's from Minot, familiar with him from KX News back in the day. Is there anyone else that's going to be front of center and that's noteworthy that's associated with this as well?
Well, there's I know that we're going to be using, I think I can say it now, Amber Wheeler. She used to work at KX. She was Joe, Amber, and I were all weather people at KX, meteorologists. And we've got a surprise during severe weather season with other meteorologists in North Dakota that we're going to invite to be honest and talk about severe weather, because we want to try something different when the weather's like super bad, tornadoes and thunderstorms. One of the things that I'd like to do is have 3, 4, 5 of us, whatever, on at the same time, each talking about, maybe Joe talks about this particular, got to keep moving out of my camera there. Joe talks about one thing. I might talk about another. Amber might talk about another. Our guest meteorologist may talk about another. And we put it all together. And that would give our listeners more information than they've ever had.
Right.
Undoubtedly.
And on top of that, I'm going to be, when I'm doing my Hey Tom is on Facebook Lives for severe weather, we could be even simulcasting that on the radio station, so farmers that are out in their combines can listen.
Yeah, that'll be huge.
And so we're going to put a lot of emphasis on our weather coverage. And again, who we use will all be meteorologists, as far as I know. And one when we were talking about this, my whole mantra with this is check the egos at the door. Because, radio and TV, it's competitive business.
Yep.
Without a doubt.
We're always trying to be one up the other. But for this, we want to serve the listener the best. And so we're going to check the egos at the door and just be on each other's side.
That's good.
That sounds fantastic.
I feel like tell us you're a weatherman without telling us you're a weatherman. The green screen. We got to just address the green screen.
Yeah. Well, I use it from my heytomas.com and I can put radar back there, but you would never see it.
Yeah.
Because we're not going through the software that I use for the
right.
Lo and behold.
Exactly. That's a green screen is, so I can put radar back there or pictures or whatever.
Do all the things there. That's fantastic.
So you said that you're in charge of the collecting the music, getting those things, and we saw some Facebook posts where you're like asking Minot, what are some of the genres that you'd be interested in? Is this going to be just another? Somebody made this comment. Is this just another country music station that's coming out in Minot? What's kind of the feel?
I will answer that one specifically, and I may not be so forthcoming on the others. No,
okay.
But I'm going to try to tease a little bit.
Sure.
But that specifically, no.
No.
Okay.
Not a country music station.
Absolutely not.
But we don't know what it is. I like it.
Well, let's put it this way. If you look at our Facebook post and we asked people to tell us what they want.
Yeah.
What showed up the most was variety.
Okay.
What showed up was different kinds of music and which one do we settle on or a combination of them.
Yeah.
What years do they want to hear? I mean, all these things we've taken and we already had a pretty good idea what we wanted to do.
Right.
But we wanted to ask to make sure we were on the right track.
For sure.
And so that kind of reinforced. And then we said, they're talking about this. Yeah, let's do that. And so we actually did incorporate some comments from people. And so I can tell you it's going to have a variety like no other. And it's not country.
Not country. There we go. I think though that the one thing that Minot will love is the fact that they will feel like they've been listened to. Because it feels like that's the thing that you hear around town is like, hey, whatever. No, hey, you guys are like, if you tell Tom, if you go to that Facebook post and let him know what they want, then there's a chance that something like that or something similar will be played. That's cool. That's awesome.
And one thing that I thought was kind of cool, and this has been several weeks, and I know Joe's listening right now because he's working on the equipment.
Hey, Joe.
But one of the things we talked about, he says, well, if you're doing a show, like say we want to do a Friday night party show, whatever, and I happen to be jocking, and he says, if somebody calls something that's not in the playlist, you want to play it, play it.
That's awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
Because
we can do that.
When you work for a corporation, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And if you call and say, I want to hear Henry Mancini, something out of the 50s. Now, I'm not sure I would play it, but I could.
Yep. You could.
The option is actually open in this case.
The option is actually open to do whatever people want. And that's what we're really trying to do. And again, variety is going to be the key here.
Fair.
Right. And you made a point there that it's not a corporation. This is a family-owned business now, correct?
Yeah. Joe purchased it, him and his family. And, I just told him when he was thinking about buying it, I said, hey, I'd love to help you get some of the music together if you have any questions. And then he did. And, I was a disc jockey for 25, 26 years full time. Okay. Wow. And then I filled in at 94.9 The Zoo, which, by the way, I got to tell you, though, Jay Davis, Gene Shamp, they own 94.9 The Zoo.
Okay.
Sunny 101.9 up in Botno and 102.9 WGO. They are local. Mm-hmm. They are a family business, and they are trying just as hard as we are. And I want to give them credit. I've worked for them for years, and it wasn't until just recently that we kind of parted ways. But when I say parted ways, it's only because I'm working on the new station.
Right, yeah, for sure.
And so they are very good operators. They care about Minot. During the flood, they had their, I don't remember the sheetrock thing where they gave away sheetrock or I don't remember exactly what it was, but that was them. So I don't want anybody to think that we're the only local station in town because we're not.
Right. Well, that's good.
I wanted to say that because to be fair, because they're very good people. Yeah, and I have friends that work there.
For sure. And 94.9 is, I might be a little biased, but I think it's a great radio station. They play
some very good radio station.
It is. They play some of the better music of choice wise that's out there.
What's your music of choice?
Well, I feel like I just classic rock. There you go.
Classic
94.9.
There you go. There you go.
And I did classic rock most of my career.
Fair.
But there was a couple of times where, like when I first started, it was called Top 40.
Sure. Yeah. So just the pop stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the pop stuff. And then it went to classic rock for most of my career. Yeah.
Very good. See, we've had this conversation before. I'm a Christian music guy, but I'm Southern gospel. I don't know if I'm solely Southern gospel, but I don't want to hear the modern contemporary stuff as much as the Southern gospel. That stuff is
now. See, I like good. Phillips, Craig and Dean, and the brothers. I can't think of, but anyway, because I'd listen to K-Love.
Okay,
sure, on satellite.
Yeah,
and so I like the new stuff and not the old stuff. But that's just me.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. That's the beautiful part about music is that there's so much out there, and it's interesting to see how it all works together.
There's a variety for everyone out there.
Absolutely. So go ahead.
I was going to say quickly, as we were still on the radio subject, you said you had over 2 decades in disc jockeying itself. Right. Obviously, that brings a ton of experience to the table. With a lot of the DJing industry, I know a lot of it can be pre-recorded nowadays, especially with those bigger corporate entities. Are you guys going to be live on the air?
Both.
Okay, fair. That's great.
And I will tell you right now that I'm out of practice doing live. So my first day, I'm probably going to be here live. Let's say I do 2 to 6.
Yep.
And I see a song coming up. I may record that break like a minute ahead of time.
Sure.
Oh, wow.
Just in case I screw up, I can fix it.
Yep.
Until I get my feet back under me, because I haven't really disc jockeyed hard in 20 some years.
Fair.
Wow. And it's like kind of like riding a bike.
Yep.
But I know there's going to be live, and but there's also going to be times. But when I record it, it's likely going to be like 2 or 3 minutes before it airs, not like I do it the night before.
Right. No, that makes sense. That's pretty much as live as you can get without it being live.
Exactly. Also, that way I'll know what the temperature is, I'll know what the weather is.
Yeah.
If there's something happening, there's a crash on Broadway, or 83 or something. I can talk about that.
Right.
And that's great, because there's that's one thing that I know we at the Dakota have been trying to do. And there's other people out in the community. There's Tommy James with Trending Topics. There's Taylor Austin, who's doing some stuff out of Bismarck, a lot more local centric stations, individuals trying to get create and put out content local to the area. So love to see that that's going to be a focus and a centric part of your guys' goal.
Yeah. And I would love to find a way of getting Taylor. I mean, I go way back. I knew Taylor when she was in diapers.
Yikes.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I've had her in my arms when she was in diapers.
That's neat.
Because I worked with her mom.
Sure.
Yeah.
Many years ago, Debbie Keene. And so my wife, Val, and my son and daughter, Alex and Nick, we'd go up there for Easter, for Christmas, and all that kind of stuff. So I've spent a lot of time with her family. So
that's great.
One of my favorite people.
Perfect. So when's she gonna do a documentary on you? I know
she did interview me once, actually. She already did right before she retired.
Okay.
Or not retired when she left.
Fair. And speaking of KX real fast, how long were you there for?
Almost 27 years.
Wow. And so when you retired from there, everyone assumed you would be done with the weather, but you weren't. You went and picked it right back up live streaming on Facebook.
Yeah, and that one kind of caught me by surprise, the response. I mean, and I'm serious and I'm grateful. I thought once I left, that would be the end of it. But there was, towards the end of last storm season in the summer, I had 2 Facebook Lives that had 62,000 views.
Wow.
I mean, that's more than every TV and radio station in the state combined.
Wow.
And that stuff just blows my mind that people were checking in. Now, over the winter, I did cut back a little bit. I am retired and I was trying to do family stuff.
Yeah.
We are reintegrating Hey Tom Is On to the radio station. And then I'm working on getting everything set again so I can put people on the air. I have a way where if you send me a picture, I can get it on the air nearly instantly now.
Okay.
Because what I really wanted to do, and this is kind of a weird thing, but I wanted people to take their phones and go outside, and turn it sideways. So, and show me the storm at their window if it was far enough away and they were safe. Well, people kept doing it. This way, not this way.
Right.
And so you have all these black bars on the side of the screen, and I could not get people to turn their phone.
Right.
And it's that was the hardest thing, was getting people to turn their phone sideways. And once they're holding the phone, they can't hear me. If they turn the phone sideways because it's storming.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely. No, that's interesting. So you guys are trying to bring a modern approach to this. That's something that I've heard from around.
Yeah, the name of the company is Radio Differently.
Okay.
And so we really want to do Radio Differently. I can tell you right now, we're not going to have a full slate of disc jockeys, at least to start.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's probably more times that we won't have a disc jockey on the air than will be when you consider 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is we're finding ways of taking community events and incorporating them a certain way into the music.
Okay.
And so we will not have commercial breaks like normal other radio stations do. I don't want to say normal, but other radio stations have. We're doing it differently.
Yeah.
And so even if we're not here, we're going to be spending the time recording things to get on the air to talk about maybe pancake breakfast for somebody, a benefit for somebody in Burlington or whatever. I mean, that's what we're going to be trying to focus to get on the air and let people know. But and I was talking with Joe earlier. I'm going to be on the air, I hope, a lot. And I'm not sure what he's doing, but I didn't ask him what he's going to do, but I just told him what I would like to do, and he was all for it.
That's awesome.
Great.
That's awesome.
No, love to see that. Love to see you guys taking that next step and getting that doing radio differently. Frankly, it's really exciting to see that next step happen in the radio scene in Minot.
We think people are going to like us knowing that we're not taking ourselves too seriously, and that'll be real clear. You listen an hour, and you're going to see, okay, they're just here to have fun.
And that's such a big difference, because when you can hear the people that you're watching or listening to are enjoying themselves, you can tell, and it makes a difference. It makes it more entertaining and more enjoyable to listen to at that point.
Right. It would seem to be, it would be easy to tell you the format now, and I bet you would like me to. We still want to have a tease of some sort.
You have
people
to.
Interested. And so it's not that we just want to have a surprise.
Exactly. You got to have something lined up for next Tuesday when it starts to have a little showcase for everybody. We get that for sure.
A question that I do have that you may not be able to answer. I listen to the radio on my phone and on my laptop. Will there be a way for me to listen to it that way?
You could listen to it at the South Pole if you wanted to.
Okay. We can go to your website, or how would we do that?
Oh, we've got some. Yeah. Joe's actually creating something.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah, he's actually creating something. It'll be very easy to listen online.
Yeah.
And on your car.
There you go.
And something that people don't know, and Joe said I could be, I can spill some secrets. Have you ever heard of HD radio? Like in your car, like you go to a station, like I don't think there's anything in Minot yet. Like you go to Fargo, you'll see HD. Well, actually, it's kind of like, if you might remember the old KX Weather Channel.
Sure.
There's
Yeah.
13.1, 13.2, 13.3. Those are sub channels.
Okay.
Well, HD radio, we have the main signal, and then we will have other channels as well. And I think we have 3 more.
Oh, wow.
One of them we want to do is we want to give it to the city free of charge.
Yeah.
Meaning, let's say that I'm at Bishop Ryan, or I'm at Minot High, or Velva High, or Plaza High, and I want to broadcast a basketball game on the radio.
Yeah.
We're going to give you the channel to use. You go out and get your own advertising and keep 100% of it.
Wow.
That's
neat.
That's a fantastic deal.
That's doing radio differently.
That is completely.
That absolutely
That's
is.
providing a service to the community and the city at that point.
And it doesn't have to be sports, but I'm just saying we're going to make
We're
going to make one of those channels that you can hear in your car and you can hear online.
Right.
So it's not like you got to sit in the car and listen to a basketball game.
Yeah, they could hypothetically they could live stream the city council meetings on that.
Absolutely could. If somebody wanted, I mean, that's up to Joe on who. But the idea is to turn it over to the community.
Right.
And it's not just Minot. It's anybody that can listen to us has access to that. You could be at Kenmare High School, and you have something you want to broadcast, and you're going to sell advertising to it. Keep the money. You have it.
Way to go.
That is fantastic.
And that right there is, I understand that the radio, with it being over the internet, then it goes everywhere. But as far as the radio signal, is that going to be reaching most of Ward County, or how far does that go?
Well, it's going to be, I think it'll go up to about Bowbells to the north. And I think if you get on the north side of Bowbells, you're probably out of it. That's the end.
Right.
To the east, I'm not sure, but it is into McHenry County at least. I'm not sure if it gets into Pierce County.
Okay.
Towards Rugby. I know I've seen stuff for Plaza,
Okay.
which is
So,
on trail.
Yep.
And that's a bit of a ways south
is.
towards Garrison.
Okay.
Wow.
I don't think we get into Turtle Lake because
Okay.
of elevation differences.
Sure.
No,
So I mean, it's a pretty good berth, but we are constrained by what the power of the station is and what the
Right.
FCC allows.
For sure.
but not constrained by the internet.
No.
So if you can't get it on your radio as you're driving, you can definitely tune in via the internet, however that ends up being, whether that's an app, a website, all the above, whatever it ends up being. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and I honestly do not know exactly the mechanism for that.
Yep.
But I can tell you that and Joe's going to kill me for saying this, but Joe is probably the most intelligent person with a computer that I've ever seen in my entire life. And you could watch Mark Steve Jobs in,
Yeah.
Sure.
or any of those Bill
Yeah.
Gates.
Yeah.
Joe's better at a computer than
Way to go, Joe.
Well, I remember just thinking back to the flood time. If I'm not mistaken, Joe was in charge of doing all of the mobile cameras that were around the city during the flood to have live feeds, right?
And we had at one point, because after it was all over, went back and looked at Google and everything, and the only number I could guarantee was 11 million views.
Wow.
Google would have given us more data, but we had to pay for it.
Sure.
And in my mind, 11 million was kind of a big number.
Yeah, it was good enough.
But I mean, this was around the world, and Joe set that up. And I hate to say this, we would have been the other station, because they didn't have Joe.
Yeah.
We did.
Right. Yep.
KX. And so we had cameras on top of the hotel across from the fairgrounds. We had them at pump stations. We had them, and we would call the city where they had lights at night. And hey, we're going to go set up a camera there. And we lost some cameras because they got flooded.
Yeah.
Or the battery ran down or something. But that was all Joe. And one thing that was really cool, I wasn't there, but the Homeland Security Director, Janet Napolitano.
Sure.
Okay.
She came to Minot. She got off the plane, and Sean Sitma, who I was on with at night, she gets off the plane. She goes, "Hey, we were watching you in the Oval Office last night." It's like, really? Yes. As a broadcaster, that is so cool.
That's as good as it gets.
So I can honestly say I've been watched in the Oval Office.
That's
fantastic.
And so was a lot of KX.
Yeah,
for sure.
But she recognized Sean, and I was sitting next to him, so I'm counting myself on that one.
Yeah.
You have to. I'll never forget watching live when I was about 13 at that time, when it was Sean and you on live when Josh Duhamel called in and you guys talked to him live. I remember like 1 a.m. or something like that. And it just blew my mind. Yeah. I probably shouldn't have stayed up that late, but it was summer, right?
You're telling on yourself now.
I got a quick second here.
Please.
I got two things that happened with me with law enforcement. And one was funny and one was not so funny, but ended up being funny.
Yeah.
So there was one day a tornado siren went off, and I happened to be home sleeping. It was 3:00 because Joe and I split 24 hours basically.
Sure.
So 3:00, my wife comes in. She goes, "Sirens are going off." So I called the police department, and Broadway was closed, right?
Yeah.
So I called the police department. I said, "Hey, I got to get to the station. Is there any other way than Broadway that I can get there in under 3 hours?" And then I hear, "Hey, can you give Schrader a escort?" So I was on my motorcycle. I went up to would have been the north part of the airport. That light there's a gas station there and a little Mexican food place, north end of the airport.
Yep.
And so I got behind the cop car and we went almost somewhere between 40 and 60 miles down Broadway, and the National Guard was like parting the seas.
Oh, wow.
And so I pull in the parking lot, and then the policeman pulls over, rolls down the windows. He goes, "Was that fun?" It's like, yes. So that was cool. So the next day, we don't have a thing going on, anything important. And I'm on my motorcycle, and now I'm doing the Broadway bypass or the 83 bypass. And I'm about not quite where 4th Avenue is, down from Oak Park.
Yep.
And I'm on the dirt on the side of the road, and I'm literally going so slow I can barely keep my motorcycle from falling over.
You're pretty much walking your bike at that stage.
Just slightly faster than that. Well, there's a cop down on 4th Avenue. He goes screaming up the ump ramp, and he's about 75 yards away from me. He gets out of his car and he goes, and he points his head over, and there's a line of cars all the way back to Broadway Avenue, miles back, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be on everybody's got their phone out. If I take my helmet off, so I left my helmet on.
Right. Yeah.
And the cop he pulls me over, or I stop, and he goes, "You know what you just did? You just pissed off." I'm sorry, all those people in, and you from California. I go, "No, I was going so slow that I couldn't even keep the bike up." And he's mad. And he goes, "Give me your license." And he gets in the car, and his door's open, and I have my visor up, and I can hear him. Yeah. And he goes, "Schrader, you idiot." So he gets back, he comes out, hands me my license, and I say, "You want me to go to the back of the line?" And no, and he let me in and go. But one day I get a police escort. The second day I almost got arrested.
It's perfect, right? The dichotomy of the flood at that point, especially.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, really appreciate you coming on. Excited for Tuesday. It's no joke on April 1st.
Not a joke.
There's going to be a new radio station.
I think Joe Goldaddy is going to be the first voice you hear, and I'm not sure if I'm joining him at all in the morning, but I'm definitely going to be on in the afternoon.
All right. Fantastic. Well, we'll make sure we're tuned in at 8 a.m.
I'll be on live at 8. I look forward to listening. But before we go, anything else you'd like to add, Tom?
I can't think of anything.
Perfect.
But you know what? Do you mind if I talk about you guys in the podcast on April 1st? And I'll tell them it's not an April Fool's joke.
Please.
All good things.
We will never argue that. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go to a quick break, and then we'll be back. Thanks for watching.
In the demanding world of oil and gas, precision, safety, and efficiency are non-negotiable. Unmanned operator drone services revolutionizes how you monitor, inspect, and manage your operations. With cutting-edge technology and expert operators, we deliver real-time data, detailed reports, and actionable insights for our valuable clients. Why risk the safety of your team or waste precious time? Our drones access even the most challenging areas with ease, reducing downtime and enhancing safety across your sites. We take the guesswork out of your projects by offering LiDAR, mapping, and inspection services so that your projects stay safe, on budget, and on time. Unmanned operator drone services, where technology meets safety, precision, and efficiency. Contact us today to elevate your operations. Yes, pun intended.
All right, we're back.
That was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a good time, man. It's always first time that I had the pleasure of really interacting with Tom, and it was a good time.
Yeah, it was. I've a fun story. Maybe I should have told him this at the start. I did, but my first time I ever met Tom, I was about 15 years old when I worked at Sears, and he came in and bought, I think, like an HDMI cable or something, and I remember
you were in awe.
I was. That was like my first ever time being starstruck.
Unbelievable.
No, that was fantastic. Again, everyone, make sure next week Tuesday you check out 106.9 FM. Going to be a great new radio station coming to town with some very familiar faces from Minot.
But some different concepts. That's the part that I was most excited about.
Undoubtedly.
Is that they're trying to do this differently. Obviously, media is changing dramatically.
We're a testament to that.
Yeah, we're a testament, and we feel that also. And so it sounds like there's a huge emphasis on making sure that it's done differently, modern. The way that you go about your life, it will fit into that. And I think that's huge.
Makes it so much more convenient for the listener, makes it more relatable and accessible for the listener. I look forward to having it on my car whenever I'm not streaming something.
There's something that we forgot to do last week.
There was, and we talked about it. We had it loaded up and we forgot about it.
So shout out to the Blue Rider for getting us a bingo card.
Yes.
And I don't play bingo, okay? But they have a bingo card that is for city council, and that's just fantastic. Yep. That is so cool.
I know we've talked about it before. We got it there. One of their newer cards they had on here.
It's the winning card.
It is. It had a straight bingo in the B column.
Yes, in the B column. And so, I mean, I guess if I was thinking, we would have this up on screen, right?
Well, I think originally we had it planned that way, but with our change of streaming service here at the last minute, we had to probably switch that off. But
walk us through it, man.
Yeah, let me get it pulled up here. And one of my favorite parts of it, it comes so obviously you got the free space in the middle with the B's going vertically. It starts off Samuelson speaks. It's always a fun time when Scott gets his say in there.
Yes.
Then council member doesn't talk into the mic. That's a common occurrence where someone maybe isn't quite heard.
They made it on a bingo card.
Exactly. Pittner has his collar pops. I love that one. Gotta
You'd probably do it yourself.
A council member has done their research. So a councilman says, I've done my research on this. That's another great one. I love that. And a personal appearance. So that is the winning bingo card, because I guess they must be counting maybe me as the personal appearance from that one. I'm not positive, but
Tyler's always trying to take a little bit of credit.
I have to. So. I got to throw myself in.
Yeah, he tries.
Oh no, they have in the I category. Okay, so they have mentally unwell person. Someone complains about taxes. Conservative talking point, which was checked, and then shout out to Leif Snyder, may he rest in peace. They have the category of feet man on there in the I. Oh, Jonathan has it up here. Here we go. So if you look at the eyes, you'll see very clearly you have in big word their feet man.
You didn't see that before?
I didn't. I missed that.
Unbelievable. That's the biggest.
That in prep. Yeah. Then of course, then they had a.
I love how they call out Rob Fuller.
Yeah, Fuller campaign donor. Rob. Then of course, N, a no discussion, which is a common thing. You have Tom Ross wears a flannel sports coat.
That was not the case. That was not a flannel.
Or it says flannel or sport coat.
Yeah,
flannel or sport
definitely
coat.
A sports coat.
Yep. Free spot. Then you have the presentation lasts for more than 30 minutes. This last one was a shorter one, and a council member gets mad. Unfortunately, we didn't get that from last one. Yeah. It's always fun when you have that.
You
adds a little.
Your collar.
When we were.
Unbelievable.
You didn't notice that when we were talking about
getting the picture loaded. Someone complains about city spending.
The
city engineer speaks, and there's two of these, and he did speak. So they must have got bingo before that happened. City engineer spoke during David Lakefield's budget presentation.
He did, yeah. So, unless maybe they count it like he has to speak on his own item instead of being brought up, but I'm not sure how
it
that
doesn't
works.
say that.
Yeah, that's true. Ryan walks into the bar. That must be an inside joke at the Blue Rider. The flood wall, that's always a common thing to be talked about.
Bless him, asked 3 questions. Like, did they wait for him, or did they just mark that one off?
They just knew it was going to happen.
I mean, 3 questions, if that's consecutive questions, maybe there's a chance that doesn't happen. But if you're talking about the whole meeting, Bless him's going to ask 3 questions.
The shots of you not getting that question are pretty small. A police officer speaks. That's something that happens pretty frequently, but not always.
Not always. Only when they're speaking.
You get a passed vote. That's a common one. An incoherent speech. We didn't have anything for that on the last one. And someone complains about construction. We didn't get that. That was an unmarked one. So a very productive one. Blue Rider, shout out to you guys. Thanks for supplying us with that. And thank you for doing this to help get Minot a little bit more engaged in city council. We love to see everything we can on that regard.
Hey, that's a huge goal that we have here at the Dakotan, is just to help us all be more informed and more engaged. And so with that being said, tonight at 5:30 at the Parker
building downtown,
is an opportunity for you to stop by and speak concerning snow removal and things like that. Talk with your city councilman. Some of them will be there. Lisa Olson was at the last one. Rob Fuller was at the last one. I can't remember. Or Mark Jansen was at the last one. And Scott Samuelson. So
no Blessum, Pittner, or Mayor Ross then. At the last one.
At the last one, there was not those 3. So that was good.
And also, too, with this, I know with the podcast with Rob Fuller from last week, he was mentioning it. Obviously, it's about snow removal, but you don't have to talk about. You can ask any question. It is open for discussion. Obviously, it's going to be the conversation, and it's going to be centered around snow removal. But if you have something else you want to bring up and say you can't make it to this Thursday, excuse me, then by all means, you're able to ask it tonight. So feel free, get out there. We'll try to get this thing fantastically attended if possible. It's at 5:30, Parker Building, downtown Minot. Try to be there, and I'll give you a high five or something.
Okay, there you go. Kyler's being generous. Yeah. Kyler's on something.
No, I'll actually probably just feel awkward if you say hi to me, but I'll talk, of course. I love conversation. I yap for like a hobby. So
yep. So that's cool.
Without a doubt.
And then what else is going on around Minot?
Man, there's a big trial that's been going on over in Grand Forks that is related to this. I feel like we talked to someone about it last week or something.
I think we did. Dude, the defense is rested.
That was I didn't get to watch the entirety of this morning live. I was about halfway through Mr. Coons, the defense's expert witness testimony this morning, but when I had to leave. But you said, and I saw afterwards, that the defense rested their case after him.
They're on closing arguments now.
So they're already done with rebuttals?
There was no rebuttal from my understanding.
From no one?
Correct. I mean, the defense can't rebuttal.
Well, I mean, no, but didn't they like have Nicole's aunt that testified on Friday step out of the court because they wanted to possibly subpoena her again, so she didn't listen to more testimony?
But at that point, they didn't know what's going on.
Fair, I guess.
So they've moved on to closing arguments. There's no rebuttals. It's coming down to the wire. It's not going to be a 3-week court case unless it's the jury
takes their time to deliberate or something. But
so they're going to have closing arguments done today, most likely, and then there's a good chance by the end of day tomorrow that the jury would be out.
That's incredible, folks. This is as close to breaking news as it is at this point. I'm shocked by this. I was expecting this to drag out as long as it could have. Obviously, I'm no court expert, but I thought this was going to be something that would have played a lot longer into the grand scheme of things. So I think this could be incredibly exciting. Possibly by our Thursday morning show, there could be a verdict that's reached.
Yeah.
Some big updates that were happening in that. If you guys haven't been following along, unless there's something you were going to go to first. Okay. I know we were here on Thursday morning, and we obviously didn't get any updates from that day. But a couple things that did happen. That was, I believe, that would be the 20th. So that was the day that they got to see the recreation that Minot Police Department did of going through the screen, and how it was a little bit, not impossible by any stretch, but a little convoluted and not easy necessarily to do. But
what were they? I don't know. What was their point of going through the screen? It wasn't that you couldn't get through the screen. Everybody could get through the screen. It was not. That was not the point.
It was to say that they couldn't get through the screen itself, that the screen had to be pushed out. Was it not more along anything?
Or was it about something ripping?
Or I know they were talking about the screen being cut versus ripped too, possibly. That might have had an association with it. And there was obviously blood that was on the screen. And so you can argue how that got there. Obviously, you can assume it got there from the knife, but there's all other possibilities, of course, too, with how that got there.
It was said by the prosecution that is by the knife.
Yeah.
Who knows actually how that happened, but they were in their reenactment video, they're being very tender with the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if you did something, you might be more in a hurry than they were.
Also last Thursday, I was shocked when we saw it, when we got done recording here. There was, they had some very questionable footage that they allowed on screen. I guess I don't know the commonality of it, but there was some questionable things that they showed on camera, whether it be intentional or not. It was, I was shocked when I saw it. And also Thursday, they had a very interesting testimony from one of the witnesses. Her name was Donna Bieland. She was a former co-worker of Nicole's, and apparently she saw Nicole the day of the murder, and she recounted some very interesting things Nicole possibly said to her. You sent me a picture of her before I had a chance to watch, and she had a unique appearance, but sensitive eyes, bright room, so makes sense. But make sure you go check that testimony out if you haven't. That has she has some very interesting implications that she throws at down at Nicole.
So one of the things that I'm interested in is how the jury is going to perceive the expert witness that was chosen by the defense.
Yeah, they brought him up yesterday, and again, he was the only witness called by defense, especially after there was a lot of talk about them getting a man named Devin Hall to testify, who's in jail in Montana. Didn't happen, won't likely happen. So that's bypassed.
We're in closing arguments.
It's not going to happen. Yeah. So I agree. I think it's going to be really interesting how the jury perceives that.
But there was a lot of question about his credibility.
There was
that the defense or that the prosecution was trying to make, the state was trying to make. And I think it's difficult to understand how the tones affect people's ability to understand what's being said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If I said, go take out the trash, you may have a willingness. And then if I yelled that at you, you may have a different response to that, right? And so that has to play into how things are perceived by the jury as well. When there's a lot of objection to things and things like that, at some point, does that make the jury feel like, you know what, you're just trying to be a pain because you are afraid of what this guy's going to say? And it goes on both sides. I'm not talking about that this only happened on one side. And so those are the things that, like, to me, is interesting when becomes very highly contentious moments about certain things, how does the jury perceive those things? And what side do they lean to because of that? Even though it's not evidence, even though it should have no bearing on the case, but it makes them listen, understand, and respect differently.
That's fair. No, that's a good way to put it. Especially, I think tone matters in that case.
Yes.
It makes a big difference when you have like just we saw it today when the state was cross-examining the defense's expert witness. They were getting pretty testy with him. He would try to elaborate on some things, and the state would say, "Hey, I asked you a question, yes or no," and he wouldn't be able to elaborate. And then you look at yesterday, and you had the defense cross-examining Sergeant Asham, and there was also some similar things. The defense was getting a little sarcastic with her. There was a point where there was an objection made for argumentative. It was sustained. Then a couple questions later, the defense was still going at Sergeant Asham pretty hard, and there was a state objected, and the court sustained it without even a reason for objection. It was just getting to that heated kind of a point. Like he was talking about, they were asking her if she had specifically talked to someone in Montana, and she said, "No, I didn't." And he said, "Oh, of course you didn't," or something along those lines. And immediate objection, state over or sustained it before even.
I mean, there's no question.
Yeah.
So basically, the when you're the attorney asking questions of a witness, you have to ask questions.
Yeah.
You cannot be making comments or
badgering.
It has
no badgering, no banter really. It has to be a straightforward process. It's a yes or no, or they're asking you to elaborate pretty much.
But it was interesting with the state got testy with but really Christopher Nelson, I believe his name, got testy with the expert witness for the defense. To the point saying, "Don't answer until I'm finished asking my question."
Yeah.
Which was interesting because when it was the other way around, there was many times where the witnesses would get asked a yes or no question, and then they would try to provide reason around it. And the judge would be like, "You asked the question, let him answer it." It's like, well, my question was a yes or no question. They're giving an explanation.
Yeah.
Did you do this? And then there's a 5-minute answer. That's not what I was asking for. I was asking, did you do this? Type stuff.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
So it's been interesting. Some people feel like the judge has been too much towards the defense. Some feel like he's played pretty well in the middle. It's definitely a hard thing for everybody. As everyone was uprooted, brought to Grand Forks for a couple weeks.
How do you think Judge Hager's doing?
Like as far as his performance? Yeah, I think that he's done overall pretty well. I think at times it has felt like he has maybe been kind to the defense more, but also I feel like that's probably a good thing in my simple mind. It hasn't been in any way to make it unfair, but also you have to be, and I assume that he would be very much aware of this, that you don't want there to be cause for a mistrial or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so as long as it's within reason and we're not fudging the roles or anything like that, and it hasn't been like in excess to the defense or anything like that. But if there's like a meter, I'd say that he's been a little bit nicer to the defense than the prosecutor.
Fair.
To the state for the most part, although there's times where he's been nice to the state, but also sometimes and people didn't enjoy fully. They didn't enjoy, based off the comments, Rick Sand. He took a long time to ask questions, and they felt like he was a little bit relaxed, and they felt like he was being a little bit more in the theatrics of it.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you've had some on the state side where it's been like they're
the driest, most.
They're dry, but they're also like fighting about things that don't matter. And it's like, okay. And I think that the judge was getting sick of those things.
Yeah, I think so. I think the judge is sick of both sides to a certain extent.
To an extent, although with the defense when the defense's witness, there was a time where there was time for rebuttal witness, or rebuttal questions from the prosecution, and the defense objected almost to every single question, and the judge was shutting them down because they were saying that the question was outside of the scope of rebuttal.
And I know the judge was saying like, hey, we qualified this guy as an expert, so that means he is free to speculate on some certain aspects of this.
That was part of it. But the questions that were being asked by the state did not have anything to do with the questions that were asked previously. And in rebuttal, it has to be, so, you get to cross-examine, and then after the cross-examination, there's a rebuttal time, and the rebuttal questions have to have to be pertaining to something that was just asked.
Yep.
You cannot be adding in new information during rebuttal.
Yep.
And so they were saying that the prosecution was asking questions that were outside of the scope of rebuttal, and the judge was like all along with it. But I think he was tired of the 4-hour witness.
Yeah, I remember that. Well, they took a recess at one point, and he asked the prosecution, like, "Hey, are you almost done?" And the prosecutor's like, "Hey, you have the right to go to recess at any point."
Right.
The judge's like, "I know I do, and we're gonna do it."
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that it felt like was just really annoying from the prosecution, where it's like, you can do this, and he's like, the judge is not sitting there trying to figure out where his power lies. And so when you're having some of those tones towards the judge, it seems kind of unnecessary.
Yeah.
And that's where the defense was careful in their tone to the judge. They respected the judge, and they may have been testy about the questions. They may have pushed some lines. They went to some places with Asham that were very
questionably
difficult.
Yeah.
But they always had respect for the judge, whereas the prosecution feels like, we've seen you before, Judge. We've been here before.
They work together pretty frequently to a certain extent. I mean,
and it feels like sometimes that was showing.
And that's a good point. I do you think that would affect the jury?
What?
Just the demeanor of the prosecution or defense towards the judge, not even towards.
That's what I was saying.
Okay,
yeah,
fair.
I feel like all that stuff plays in.
Yeah, I think you're very much right on that too.
If the judge is tired of somebody, then as a juror, you're like, I wonder why he's getting upset. He's been here more than me. Why is he upset at the prosecution right now?
So the time I can sort of speak very vaguely on this. The time I sat on a jury, I know the state's attorneys that were presenting the case at that time, it was a similar thing. They weren't very appealing, and it didn't feel like they were giving it 110%. But also it felt like to us as a jury generally that they had a pretty Loctite case. So it was almost like they were just kind of going through the motions, like just getting it done. And like the defense she did a fantastic job, the attorney, but the case felt pretty, it was
evidence is evidence.
Yeah. It was relatively cut and dry. So there was only so much that could be done, but yeah, it definitely, demeanors can certainly affect the jury. It's personality.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. Of course, if we hear of a verdict, we will let you know.
Undoubtedly. A couple things that were interesting too, if you guys haven't been paying super close attention, was Friday, where they had William May and Christina Holler, I think.
Holler.
Yeah. They had them on, and they were both at a party allegedly with Nicole in 2008-ish. And they both attested that she had admitted to the murder at that point, which obviously likely drinking involved on all hands and all accounts. And it's been 15 years. So you can take that how you want, but you had two different sources saying it. And the really interesting one I saw on that same kind of line was when the state called Rice's aunt to the stand yesterday. And
that was some strong testimony.
It was. That was, I think, one of their strongest.
But it was only strong because it came from a family member.
Exactly. If that was from a friend, it would be different.
The thing with that, though, is you had to trust that they were a tight family, and maybe they were. I'm not saying that like
they aren't. They were. They weren't. Yeah.
Know the relationship way better than me, so I'm not saying they weren't. But the deal with family is just because they're family does not mean they're tight. You have to really understand dynamics, and the way that the prosecution was trying to present it was that obviously they're family, so obviously they're tight. Like, well, that's not necessarily true, and they can say that it broke up, whatever, and that
may
I
be
believe
true.
that.
Yeah,
I believe that.
But
I believe that it's been hard on the community. But that doesn't mean that Nicole Rice is guilty just because it's been hard on the guilty.
Completely so.
On the community. And that's one thing that's really important is that at this point, she remains innocent until proven guilty.
Undoubtedly. And here's, I think, the biggest
proven otherwise.
Exactly. And I think the biggest thing with that too, I think the state's done a great job of proving that some of the other possible suspects didn't do it, weren't there.
Oh yeah, but I don't feel that way.
You don't, with Devin Hall especially?
No, yeah.
Okay.
Because what's one of their pieces of evidence, and this stood out to me not during the defense, but when they were mentioning it, is one of the pieces of evidence of why Devin Hall was not there is because there had video evidence of him getting off of a train on whatever date.
And the interesting thing with that is they don't have a ticket for him on that train.
They don't have a ticket. He would have paid somebody under the table, and then he gets off the train and they video camera, because who video cameras somebody when they just took a weekend trip to wherever?
That's the interesting.
Like, who does that? And then you go and you hear the expert witness on it. He said he's not getting off the train in that video. He's around the train in that video.
Yeah,
you don't see him actually getting off the train. He said and this is just what was said, says that the camera is not even dated for that date. So you don't even have proof of when that video was taken.
Because it's an old VHS camera and you can set the date manually, and it was just a reset date, like 1/1/2000. So you have no idea.
I mean, all cameras, especially back then, even if it wasn't a VHS, are all that way.
Yeah. So, and even if that said the date, you couldn't necessarily
you could still
guarantee that that's the actual date.
Right. When you start getting into it, if somebody was like, I can't be in town that day, I had to prove I wasn't in town, it'd be an easy way to go and say, oh, I have video evidence of me getting off of a train.
Yeah.
Like that's not that hard. You could literally probably walk on the train and get off once it had already stopped if you went that far.
Because was it like his aunt that filmed them or something? I think is what it was.
It was a family member.
Yeah.
That filmed them.
Yeah. The one, and also on,
and that was another thing that's interesting, is like there's very selection, and like, oh, family would be more likely to go and lie for you, except if they don't. If they don't, they automatically are telling the truth, because the aunt is 100% telling the truth, but you can't trust what the parent said. It's just, and there was many times, and at one point the prosecutor like called out some of the logic that was kind of contradicting each other. There's just, it's interesting how it all works. After a week of testimony, you'd anticipate that.
No, exactly. Especially, and you can tell it's starting to get to that stage too now.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I really look forward to seeing what their closing arguments look like. I promise as soon as we're done here, I will be checking it out. I can't imagine where they're going to end up fully going next. The thing also that surprises me on the witnesses is that, I mean, maybe it makes sense, I'm just not seeing it, but Rice's parents weren't brought to the stand.
Yeah, I that's not surprising to me.
No, you don't think they would have been brought
because
to
that means they're going to
testify
get cross-examined.
That's
and it's going to be a brutal cross-examination.
That's fair. I guess you don't think it's shot or surprising that the state didn't call them?
I'm curious if there was some. If I have no idea. Yes, unless if there's some kind of protection, or if the state said that they didn't want to trust them.
Fair. And I know in some places there's like some ambiguity to like spouses being able to testify against spouses and stuff. I wonder, there certainly could be some possibility where like children parent thing happens there too. I'm not positive, but that's definitely one of the possibilities with that. I think not having Devin Hall testify is shocking as well.
I don't know that that's shocking.
I think so.
Okay,
especially with the amount of hype they put into it.
I think it'd be most shocking that the state did not have him testify, not the defense, because you're going to go and get Devin Hall on, and you can say, "Did you commit the crime?" He's going to say no.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, were you on the train? Yeah, I was. Like he has an alibi himself, and he's going to stick to his alibi. You're going to have to rip that from him.
That's fair. Yeah. If anything, the state would have wanted him to go in and reinforce that statement.
Yeah.
Truth or not. And you would want the defense to have to pick it apart and try to prove otherwise.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
That's fair. But again, it's over now.
Yeah. It surprised me once so I'm going to be Monday morning QB this whole thing. Okay.
Yeah.
It surprised me that they rested their case after the expert witness, but then, because you expected Devin Hall, you expected a couple of others potentially. But then as I thought about it, I'm like, okay, but all you're doing is opening up the state to be able to go and rip your argument that you laid. They felt comfortable after the expert witness that he disproved enough that if they went to other people, it would take away from the things that the expert witness disproved. Yeah. That's my take on it.
No, I can see that.
And now you got the prosecution, and this is the part where I think the prosecution should consider doing things different, is you got them out there presenting a PowerPoint right now. And it's like, okay, way to be, and the PowerPoint probably has some good things, but when you're using stock photos and it doesn't look whatever, I feel like that stuff matters. And it's like, way to be just uninteresting to the jury.
Yeah.
Like how are you going to stand? How are you going to make your stuff stand out?
That's the thing, because obviously you can point out inconsistencies in her statements throughout the years, but like if you're doing it in, I mean, almost like a professorial way where you're in a classroom setting and you're saying this, like I feel like this is not the most.
Jury has sat through a week worth of stuff, and then they sat through a testimony that went for 3 hours. Or right around there, and now they're going to listen to you present on a PowerPoint. Okay,
like they're going to love that, I'm sure.
Tell us what you think about it.
Yeah, let us know in the comments below. We can always look into some stuff too, because final kind of little takeaway before having looked at any of the closing arguments. I am not a judge, nor a jury, nor a legal expert. However,
and the Dakotan stands behind the idea that you are definitely innocent until proven otherwise.
Undoubtedly so. I don't know if the state's done enough to prove guilt.
Yeah,
that's my take.
I honestly agree.
That's where I'm at with it. I'm not saying that she's innocent, she's innocent until proven guilty, but I'm not going to rule out one or the other as the verdict. But
here's the deal. Like the whole innocent thing is like,
that's not innocent. The goal.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is like in the court of law, that's the way it is. And then there's the fact of, well, my gut is that they're actually whatever. Right. And I don't know. I go back and forth on that, but
it's a struggle.
I'm not willing to comment on that one.
Fair. I took the leap.
Well, I'm willing. And as far as like the jury goes, I think that the state may have not done enough as well. It feels like there could be lacking, but the closing arguments could be really strong.
Yeah.
Because for me, the expert witness, his credibility is questioned, but he said some compelling things. So as long as people aren't stuck on his credibility,
he made some great points.
He had some very compelling statements that he made. But the closing arguments could be wonderful. So in my opinion, I'm not sure that there's enough. And it was a great point that was made when they tried to get the case thrown out again before they made their defense. It's like, you guys never proved that Nicole was at the scene. Great point.
She made a good statement with that.
There's no proof that she was at the scene until she was ushered there. There's no proof that she wasn't, but there's no proof that she was.
You can't prove it. There is nothing to prove it one way or the other at this point.
Right. And then you have the expert witness talking about cell phone records and being able to prove where the cell phone was located, even in 2007. And they never even, he made it sound like they never even tried.
Yeah.
But what was weird about it, it's not only that they never even tried, they did it on one of the suspects, but they never did it on Nicole.
And that's the weirdest thing. It's one thing if they didn't pursue it, period. Like they just kind of said that's not how we investigate things, but like the witness said, they did it on a very minor person of interest, but they never actually did it with any of their legitimate people of interest, and that's a questionable thing. I'm a little surprised maybe someone didn't try to bring back one of the officers that was there at the time to look into that, but at this point it doesn't matter too much either. That's it'll be interesting to see where the conclusions go today.
Yep, it will be very good. Any bills that you're tracking?
One that I have been tracking that I forgot to mention was House Bill 1038 that passed and was signed about a week or so ago. That was the one that is talking about the Commerce Department reintegrating our drones into the state and working on that. That was passed. That one got approved and signed by the governor. So that is going to be all facilitated through the Commerce Department. I believe it's $11 million that they're going to get to work through all of those drone issues.
Just put out a podcast yesterday with Andrew Nias about education savings accounts. He brings a very good perspective of what that would look like for North Dakota if it passed, and even advocates for it being passed. Great discussion. A lot of the reaction so far is negative towards it, so be sure to watch that and leave your comments in the comment section.
If you love it, let us know. If you hate it, let us know.
This is my only thing with that.
What?
I agree. Okay. But when you hit the don't like button, it means something different to you than it means to us. To you, it means you don't like that video. To YouTube, it means you don't like that channel. And that's two different things.
This is true.
You may like the content, the fact that there is content, but you may not agree with the content. So you don't have to hit the dislike button.
Please blast us in the comments all day long.
All day long, blast us in the comments.
Maybe think twice about the dislike button.
Yeah. But if you're on Facebook, go ahead and follow us on Facebook. Like the page, follow us. There's a
Share
lot of
these videos.
people that engage with our content on Facebook. You love our content.
And we love you.
But you don't follow us. And that's something that really,
Tears
we
at the
think
heartstrings.
about that at night. And so would really love to have you follow us, join the Dakotan community.
Please. We're going to be doing some very exciting things starting.
Yeah, why don't we just tell people? Because we're a week away.
That's
so here's
fair.
the deal. Next Monday, supposedly, rumor on the street is we're going to be starting a daily podcast.
Yep.
And what that looks like is in the morning, most likely around 7:30 in the morning, we're going to be dropping a podcast with some of the top news headlines from the previous day, or on Monday from the previous weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be able to view all those news. So we'll be giving you the headlines. Sometimes we'll be linking to other news sites that's providing it. Sometimes there'll be our own content that we produce or that we have on our website. You'll be able to view our daily brief on the website. So you can go and check out those headlines, click the link, go to the story. You can also receive those in your email inbox, or you can just listen to it on YouTube or Facebook or on your favorite podcasting service.
Yeah.
That's going to start happening this coming Monday, we believe.
Because if you haven't noticed, we have been ramping up content on the website. On Facebook, we've been posting out more articles. Shout out to everyone that gave some love to mine over the weekend. I appreciate all of you. But definitely make sure to keep checking us out and following along. We're going to keep that content coming out to you guys. Starting next week, we're going to get those daily podcasts rolling. We're going to have the big headlines every morning. And then, of course, still we're going to have our regular shows on Tuesday and Thursday.
And that's, as of right now, we're going to say that's adjusted to 9 a.m.
We're looking
that's the time that we're looking to do. If you hate that time, let us know. If you love that time, let us know. Would love some feedback on that.
Certainly amicable to moving that around, but we're looking at 9 a.m. as kind of the most efficient time right now for both days. And I look forward to doing it. I can't wait to take this to the next level. I hope everyone at home enjoys what we do. If you think that there's something we should do different, reach out and let us know. If there's someone that you want to see on one of our shows, let us know. We will do our best to get them on. Make sure you share today's video with Tom Schrader around at the first part of our video of the show. That was a great interview. Some great things to be expecting next week with them as well.
Yes.
A lot of exciting things happening in Minot right now.
Absolutely. A lot of exciting things. Things are on the move. And so anything else you want to add?
I think I'm good now.
Okay, then I have one last thing I want to add.
What do you have? I'm scared.
Tonight, 5:30 at the Parker neighborhood meeting. Be there.
Live in color.
Okay. Let's pack the Parker out. Let's all show up. It matters. It matters.
No, honestly, this is a great opportunity for any resident citizen of Minot to get with and in front of their not just representatives, but also the people that work for the city.
But it's not just that. It's a great time to ask questions, to be engaged and all that. But it's also a great time to show up and show your city you actually care.
Yeah.
Because half the time they're going through this stuff, and the only time people show up is when it's budget. The only time people show up is when it's property taxes. Other than that, they always show up post whatever in the comment section.
Yeah.
Even if you're not there to actually comment, just show up and say, hey, you know what? I do care about the decisions that are being made in my city.
Yeah.
Whether I choose to comment on them or not is a separate thing, but I do care. And your presence shows that.
Presence matters.
Yes, it does. So be there at the Parker today. We look forward to, if all goes well, we'll both be there. So we would look forward to seeing you there, but obviously that's not the focus. The focus is on
city snow removal
city
conversation.
Manager Harold Stewart and his crew
leading the discussion.
It'll be interesting to see who else is there.
Yeah. See what city council members and possibly the mayor, see who shows up.
Yeah.
But look forward to it. It's been a good show, Jonathan.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching this episode of Minot Talk at the Dakota. The last one.
Yes.
At 1 p.m.
This is
in recent memory.
Most likely the last, yes. For now.
And after that, we'll be at
9 a.m.
So, all right. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.